Welcome everybody. I am hype. I've been waiting to get to these guys for a hot minute. Oh, so awesome. So let's get straight into it. If you are new here, check the Google Sheet down below in the description for a very detailed guide to all of the changes in this hack, including all of the new moves, and every single move is buffed or changed in some regards, so I would check all that out. Also, all the new abilities, you can find detailed guides for everything, every other Pokemon so far. So if you're new here, make sure you go check that out. And if not, or when you come back from looking at it, feel free to listen to the rest of the video. As for my returning viewers, hello, how are you guys? Yeah, I'm hype. Dude, I already like Camerupt a lot, but like this is just awesome. Like he is a fucking monster. So, if I had to sum it up as to why they're good, so they before I even talk about their incredible ability combos, I'm going to quickly mention the base stat total. People who are new here especially might be like, what the hell? There are new like tiers of Pokemon, you could say. Most Pokemon are like 525 to 550 base stat total, and then some of them are 575 and even 600. There's new pseudos, and there are two-stage Pokemon as well. So Camerupt, I chose to be a 575 base stat total, 575 base stat total two-stage line alongside stuff like, I believe I have a list, hold on. Arcanine and Exeggutor are the other Pokemon that have the same stat spread, where they're two-stage Pokemon that are 575. Let's put Camerupt on that list. So Camerupt is there as well, and the reason being, I see Mega Camerupt and Mega Abomasnow as parallels to one another. I know most people think that Sharpedo is. Well, it is technically, if you want to be objective about it, but this is not a. This doesn't. I don't have to abide by that, all right? So, Abomasnow, for example, will follow a similar stat convention. The reason being, they are mixed attackers, so a lot of their stat points are just, I wouldn't say wasted, but they're used up in the other offensive stats. So you might be thinking it's kind of high for a base stat total, but for example, if Camerupt wasn't a mixed attacker, it would be like it would be a regular base stat total. It would be like around 525-ish, which is what the other Pokemon are usually. Two-stage mons are usually at. Obviously, not always. He's also slow, so he has to be pretty damn tanky. So that being said, hopefully that explains the base stat total. But also a little bit of favoritism. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted them to be tanky and strong, and I absolutely adore these changes. Probably some of my favorite, if not the favorite, in terms of just like how bad they were before and how good and cool they are now, and how like the abilities interact, and he's just such a fucking monster. Like, oh, it's so cool. So Camerupt has access to Drought and Berserk. I think all of their abilities are very fitting. Berserk fits, obviously, given that he is an angry ass camel that throws tantrums and get all erupts and everything. And that's an incredible ability in its own right. But first I'm going to talk about Drought. So people give Camerupt a lot of shit, like for the typing, but Fire Ground is genuinely a good typing. I mean, we have mons like Ferrothorn. Like, Fire Ground is not a bad typing. Camerupt is just a bad Pokemon in normal games, where his stats, he's not tanky and he's slow and he's not even that strong. That's the problem. Fire Ground is genuinely a good type. It has a lot of resistances, a complete immunity to electric, and then it only has a 4x weakness and a 2x weakness to water and ground. Fucking Ferrothorn has a 4x weakness to fire and then a 2x weakness to fighting. That's very similar. Obviously, he has way more resistances, and he still has that immunity. But I'm trying to compare, like, having one weakness to and having two weaknesses, one of them being 4x, it's not bad at all. That's great. So, however, with Droughts enabled, Camerupt is only 2x weak, so he's only 2x weak to water and ground. And then, of course, he still resists poison, fire, bug, steel, and fairy, and he's immune to electric, so those are great traits. Not to mention he does have reliable healing. He has Sediment for earlier in the hack, and then later on at level 40, you get Morning Sun, which is insane because that heals you by 2/3 HP. So that's great with Drought. Berserk is also great, not to mention for several reasons, okay? So I'm going to talk about the way that the abilities work together because I definitely put a lot of careful thought into what slot goes into where and all that stuff, as I always do. So Drought is great. I'm not like, it's a strong ability. You also have priority dual stab options with Ignite, Mudshot, and Pyro Dash, which are all priority moves, as well as First Impression via TM. So those are all good priority options. But yeah, Camerupt is super tanky. I think the stats fit very well. He's a giant fucking camel thing with, he's just a big fucking strong guy. I think he should be pretty damn tanky. He is huge. He's like, what, 6'3", 6'3" tall, and that's not even counting how wide and heavy he is. So 100 base HP, 105 defense, 80 speed up. That's great. You can also run like Assault Vest on Camerupt, that kind of thing. He'd be very, very tanky. Berserk is an incredible ability with Morning Sun as well, because what you can do is you can let them put you down below half, get that +1 special attack, and then you can Morning Sun back up. You can actually use Berserk with bulky sets like Amnesia and Stockpile and Swallow. You can also just take advantage of like weakness policy Berserk with like your decent bulk, or your good bulk, excuse me. I mean, now undersell the goats right here, fucking goat. Oh, I love Camerupt now. I always liked him, but yeah, he's just definitely one of the ones I want to use the most. Just absolute beast. So yeah, this is gonna be a little bit of a longer video because there's a lot I want to cover. But Drought, when you Mega Evolve, becomes Solar Rush. So its base 35 speed becomes incredible. So I initially had 40, but I figured 35 was a lot more fair. So I already did the math, so I'm just going to say it, and you're going to take my word for it. 35 base speed with a neutral nature and max speed hits outspeeds Jolly base, or plus speed nature base 104 Pokemon. Okay, so say you're fighting, you outspeed all the base 100s and below, and then of course a couple of stragglers here. If you look at the speed tier guide, you can see you outspeed Techlosion, Zard X, Honchkrow, Golduck, and then all the base 100s, and then everything else below, of course. So that's great. That's really, I mean, you're super tanky as Mega Camerupt. Again, that Fire Ground typing, and Drought will still be up, ideally, only for 5 turns, but Drought will still be up when you Mega, so you get 5 turns of to abuse that insane speed, that insane bulk and speed stat. Not to mention, you're incredibly powerful with base 145 and 165 offenses in the Sun. Not to mention, Fire Ground dual stab is insane. People already know how good fucking Primal Groudon is. I mean, this guy's comparable to Primal Groudon in terms of bulk and power. Not exact, but he's comparable for sure. Which is awesome. Obviously, this is power creep, okay? Everything in this hack is very powerful and strong. So it's not like he's just broken for no reason. No, everything in this hack is about this strong, so it's all gonna even out in the end, but it doesn't change the fact that he's still an absolute beast of a Pokemon now, and it's so cool. So yeah, make Camerupt very tanky, that good defensive typing with Drought active, and then with Solar Rush, you are at 104 speed with a neutral nature, and if you got lucky enough to get a plus speed nature Camerupt, that can be kind of bad in some cases, but what you can do actually is you can essentially get you will outspeed base 119 speed Pokemon with the plus speed nature on Mega Camerupt in in the Sun with Solar Rush. So you get that 50% boost to your fire type stab. You also get instant Solar Blade or Solar Beam, depending on if you're running physical or special. That's another thing. In this ROM hack, you do have access to infinite usability capsules and instant EV training items, so you can and should be swapping between abilities, swapping between your movesets, swapping between your EV spreads, that kind of thing. That's intended. That's a design choice, especially with the abilities. Abilities is like you really should be swapping between them, because I designed my Pokemon to have 2 great sets of abilities, not just one that you are sticking with. And this is no exception, because Drought into Solar Rush is incredible, but so is Berserk into a new ability, Sweltering Sun, which is just Desolate Land. So now Mega Camerupt is not instead of being only 2 times weak to water, my man is immune to water. So he is immune to water and electric, and then he only is weak to ground 2 times, which he has Solar Beam and Solar Blade to hit anyways. Not to mention you're very tanky, so you can live a lot of ground hits at least once. It's insane, all right? It's so good. God. I love it. Super tanky, immune to water. So basically, you're trading that insane speed from Solar Rush and Drought for the power, for the immunity of Sweltering Sun, and also the pre-Mega ability as Berserk is also useful, which I'll get into on the Mega. Like, obviously, that's great on base Camerupt, but it's also useful because what you can do, I'm just going to say it now, what you can do is you can swap your Camerupt into a move, any move, and you can get that Berserk boost, and then you can Mega Evolve, get Sweltering Sun, and then click Morning Sun and heal up. So now you're at +1 special attack, and you still have priority Ignite, for example. Speed isn't everything, okay? You can also just you can be a slow, tanky Pokemon. You don't have to be the fastest thing on the fucking field to be a good Pokemon. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. So, also Ignite is there for priority, which is boosted by Sweltering Sun. And the good thing about Sweltering Sun is that it lasts forever. So Drought lasts 5 to 11 turns. If you're holding a Heat Rocket, it lasts 11 turns, which is also good for team support. By the way, you can run like Parting Shot Drought on your Camerupt and just get that Sun team going if you want to do that instead. You don't have to use it as an offensive Pokemon, although again, that's the beauty of having the infinite ability capsules and the EV training, is that you can really strategize and be careful with when you use certain things. Camerupt also has other ways to boost its speed, but I'll get into those in a little bit. So yeah, you switch on your Camerupt, you get that Berserk triggered, or you just use base Camerupt, you stall out, some stuff, you get that Berserk boost, and then you Mega Evolve and get Sweltering Sun. Yeah, which is it's great, okay? It's super, super sick. You also have good setup. You have Bulk Up, Swords Dance, and Nasty Plot, which are all, and also other stuff like Iron Defense and Amnesia and Stockpile and Buffed Swallow, although Buffed Swallow isn't that great when you have Morning Sun of the Sun. I would only use Buffed Swallow, and like if you only had Sediment to heal, for example. Sediment being rock type of cover if you guys are new here. Again, if you are new here and you're kind of lost, I highly recommend just checking out the Google sheet in the description because all of these new moves and the old moves are all buffed or changed, so I would really just check those out. Yeah, so that's super, super awesome. Again, those Solar Rush sets on Mega Camerupt, you don't even need to use Nasty Plot or Swords Dance or Bulk Up on those, but you could if you really wanted to. You don't need it though, it's overkill. You're already extremely strong. Fire Ground Dual Stab with rock coverage or fighting coverage or grass coverage hits fucking everything you would ever need to hit. Not to mention that boost from the sun. Absolute behemoth of a Pokemon. Either with either set of abilities. Base Camerupt is also fucking insane and incredible and awesome. There are 2 other Fire Ground types in this hack. There's Camerupt, and then there is Entei. You can go check that out. Entei does share Drought, kind of iffy because I want normally if you guys are new are returning, you don't excuse me, I don't like overlap. I try to be careful with Pokemon outclassing one another, but Entei is way different already. Entei is fast on its own. It doesn't intimidate. It's bulky. It's naturally stronger. That kind of thing. So I think they function differently enough. Not to mention Entei is a late game encounter anyway, so I'm not worried about it. It's okay if there's a slight bit of overlap. Not to mention, if I didn't give Entei Drought, it would fuck up the synergy between the two of the other two. But with the other two having weather abilities, of course, Drizzle and Snowboarding. So I ended up just sucking it up and giving them Drought. But the other Fire Ground type is a new one, obviously, and we'll get to those when I get to them. But I'm super hyped for them. And no, it's not Emboar. I hate that idea. Fucking Fire Ground Emboar is dumb. But anyways, yeah, let me get back on topic. I'm sorry. Man, so awesome. So yeah, super tanky, super strong, also super fast in Solar Rush. Not super fast. I have to be a little bit reasonable. I'm not going to give him fucking 50 base speed with Solar Rush from Drought. That would be ridiculously overpowered. He's already, teetering the line. But honestly, there's no real such thing as overpowered in this hack. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's hard to explain. I'll make a video about it one day probably, but not now. Yeah, great utility. Also, stuff like Parting Shot, Yawn. The healing moves, Battle Cry drops both the opponent's offensive stats by 2, so that's great. You also have very, very powerful stab moves, which you could use with Solar Rush or Berserk or Sweltering Sun. It's so awesome. So yeah, so basically another thing I was going to say is that Berserk and the Sweltering Sun, you can't use a Sun team with Sweltering Sun because that will actually disappear when you evolve, or when you switch out, excuse me. So you actually lose that team support, which is good in some situations. Another reason to use Berserk over Drought on Camerupt not only is because Berserk is just a really fucking good ability that people, it's just a really great ability. You can even just use like Morning Sun, Ignite, or Nasty Plot or something, or Bulk Up with, not Bulk Up, but Iron Defense, Amnesia. You can get super tanky and just trigger Berserk boost over and over and over until you're at +6 special attack, and then you just go to town. A little bit easier said than done, obviously, but you can definitely, it's just a great ability, even just switching it in. You can also use like Rock Polish Berserk is nutty with Focus Sash, because Rock Polish is buffed in that it gives you an accuracy boost as well as giving you +2 speed. So with Camerupt base 45 speed, with the neutral speed nature at +2 speed, you're hitting 378, which outspeeds like 122 and lower, I believe, off the top of my head. Maybe even higher, maybe 123 base speed Pokemon. So you're very fast after a Rock Polish, even without having that Lucky plus speed nature. And then you can just go to town with that Rock Polish set because of that accuracy boost. And if you actually trigger the Berserk in that turn, for example, with the Focus Sash, you can also run Weakness Policy. If you're tanky enough, say, for example, the hit that they're going to hit you with is going to take you to like low HP, but not kill you, and you know that, you can slap a Weakness Policy on your Camerupt, and now you're at +3 special attack and +2 speed and +1 accuracy. And with that accuracy boost, with all Rock Polish sets, you can use all kinds of powerful and accurate moves. So physically, with Rock Polish, you can use stuff like Precipice Blades and Stone Edge, and actually that's it physically. Yeah, not too, other like stuff that only has a 5% chance to miss, like Zen Headbutt technically, but yeah. You also have other good coverage like Wild Charge. You also have really good coverage by Level Up. Obviously, you don't really need the coverage. It's more of a situational thing. For certain boss fights, you might want to run a certain coverage move. But overall, you don't need it because you do have Solar Beam, Solar Blade, Dual Stab, and then Rock moves. That's all you truly need. But of course, the options is always nice. If you are doing a hardcore Nuzlocke and you are preparing for battles like using the team cheats, you can like, you know, prepare very, very deliberately to like counter everything, which is really awesome. Excuse me. Man, I love Camerupt. I'm just so fucking strong. I love it. Other cool stuff. Howl, Power Trip, and Solar Rush could be pretty cool. You could also use that with Berserk, but better with Solar Rush, because Howl gives you +2 to both your offensive stats. So you can also just run that with mixed Camerupt in general. But yeah, Howl gives you +2 to both, and then Power Trip will be 100 base power after that, and Power Trip is actually buffed, but it gives you +1 attack each time you click it. However, you only get 3 PP of those. But yeah, back on top with the Rock Polish stuff. So Precipice Blades, Fire Vortex, Stone Edge, Focus Blast, Fire Blast, Inferno, Mud Bomb. All these moves are inaccurate slightly. Most moves are actually much more accurate now. Most strong offensive moves in late game are only 85% accurate. Like, they're not too bad, or 90 even. Overall, just made accuracy a lot less stupid with a mechanic, which is good. But hold on, I just have to extend this. It's bothering me a little bit. That's better. So yeah, also Nummel is a great Pokemon for early game. It evolves at 35, so you'll be using Nummel for all of Akala Island. You'll be getting it probably in Whale Volcano Park. So if you are, you know, getting it there, and then, you know, for all of Akala, it's a good mon. You can use a Violite Nummel for Olivia with Unaware. That's a great Pokemon. It's pretty strong, really tanky with a Violite. It's just a solid mon. Simple is also good because you can run stuff like Defense Curl or Work Up for Akala Island stuff. Work Up with Ignite, for example, is like Diet Nasty Plot for early game, and then Defense Curl, you can use that with like Sediment to heal yourself. It's a useful ability. And then obviously Unaware is even more useful versus Totems especially. So that's awesome. But yeah, back to the real things that people care about, because I know I still put a lot of thought into the pre-evolutions. You guys might be surprised, but I put a lot of thought into the pre-evos and their moves and abilities and stats. But because, you know, those are used for a significant portion of the game, which is why they're all also good now. But Camerupt is the star of the show here, and I just love the changes here. I think I low-key kind of covered everything. I mean, the stats are very fitting. He has a literal massive fucking volcano on his back. That's also why I think it fits for him to vaporize water moves. The only other non-legendary Pokemon with Sweltering Sun currently is Magcargo, who also happens to be 4 times weak to water, which is really fun. 2 Shitmons are absolutely incredible because of all of these incredible buffs. Magcargo's also insane. You can go check that video out if you like Magcargo. But yeah, I love it. I'm also hyped for Abomasnow. Abomasnow is going to have very similar changes, that's what I'll say. So I think that can kind of give you a little hint as to what I'm planning there. And even for those of you who are putting 2 and 2 together, there's more to it, trust me. I'm excited. I'm really hyped for Abomasnow because I also just like Abomasnow a lot. The changes, it was such a bad mon. So much cool shit in this hack. I'm excited to get to everything, really. Other notable moves, Raging Fury is really good on Camerupt because that's a 50 base power move that doubles in power if you get hit, if you move last, and it's not negative priority, so it's kind of like payback, how payback used to work. So essentially, for Solar Rush sets with Mega Camerupt, you can outspeed them and still get that 50 base power Raging Fury, but for slower sets with Drought, you can get a physical Drought set going with Raging Fury, and that will give you +1 attack each time you click it, and it's 100 base power. So that's 100 base power physical power type move that gives you +1 attack, assuming that you've moved second, and you can use that with like Pyro Dash for priority, for example, and that's awesome. High Horsepower is also good before you get Earthquake. That's 95 base power, 100% accurate, 30% chance to flinch. All these other strong moves late game, I'm not even going to waste time going into them all, but for example, Land's Wrath and Blast Burn are moves that essentially lower your special attack stats by 2, and they're 150 base power moves, so those are insanely powerful. And then, yeah, just so much awesome stuff here. I'm not even gonna. Eruption is good on Solar Rush, Mega Camerupt, kind of, or like I guess Rock Polish if they didn't attack you. But Eruption's really only good for Solar Rush, Mega Camerupt, honestly. But it's insane on him, so. Yeah, especially if you outspeed everything. But keep in mind, 104 speed is not that fast. Not to mention, that's assuming you get a max IV one. So I'll give you a hypothetical. Say, you know, you're doing in-game Hardcore Nuzlocke. You have 35 base speed. You have a neutral speed nature, and then you have, I don't know, fucking 17. Now you're only at 310 speed, you know, and all the trainers have max IVs, so you're kind of not that fast. But that's just for balancing reasons, because anything over like 105 reliably would be, you know, it's up to luck. Okay, if you got a really fucking lucky nature, plus speed nature, then you're super fast and you can totally just sweep a lot of people. But you know, if you didn't get a plus speed nature, you got shitty IVs, whatever, you can always use the bottle caps, but those are only post game, because the person who actually changes your IVs is post game. So. Or they might be in the league. I'm pretty sure they're post game though. So yeah, that's really about it, honestly. Great utility Pokemon as well. People like don't sleep on that as well. Like, you know, Will-O-Wisp, Parting Shot, Taunt, like that's also very good. It's a very tanky Pokemon. That Fire Ground typing is very good defensively. So if you're being smart about if you're playing more strategically and you're doing hardcore Nuzlocke and you're repairing, it can do a lot of different roles. It can be purely offensive. It can be fast. It can be bulky. Well, it's still bulky, but it's faster. You can run pure bulk, and then of course you can run utility. Even just with base Camerupt, you know, Drought, Parting Shot, Will-O-Wisp, that kind of thing is great. Rock Polish, there's so much awesome shit here. I need to shut up because I think I've said enough already. Again, feel free to check out the description down below for more detailed information on these changes and buffs and everything for everything, all the Pokemon and the hack so far. You know, feel free to support my project, support this work by leaving a like and leaving a comment down below. Share your thoughts with me, that'd be cool. If you are new here and you listen this far into the video, hit that subscribe button. What are you doing? Definitely subscribe. Thank you very much if you do. Lastly, Discord server link in the description. You can join my community. You can ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is growing a good amount, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it off there. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm fucking hyped for Camerupt. I'm hyped for all Pokemon. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm playing too much favorites. I just happen to love these changes. So yeah, thank you very much and goodbye.